Here in this video, we are talking about three different ways of transmission of the heat from one place to another place. The name itself tells you transmission of the heat means how do you pass heat from one place to another place. We know heat is a format of energy. It satisfies law of conservation of energy. To transfer heat from one place to another place, we have actually three different methods. What are that methods are? One is conduction. Second one is convection. Third one is radiation. So let us see about the basics of each of these, what they are, how they works actually. We'll start our discussion with conduction. The phenomena of a transmission of heat via conduction happens in solid materials. Heat transfer through solid materials happens via a conduction. So imagine a solid material like this. Let here the body is having a higher temperature. Here the temperature is low. So what happens is a solid means set of molecules who are tightly packed with each other such that there is no gap between them. So when heat is transferred, temperature is high, then there is a flow of heat. Heat always tries to flow from a body of higher temperature to lower temperature. How it happens? That heat is first received by the first molecule. This molecule, after receiving heat energy, as it has no place to go because it's tightly packed, it starts vibrating about its main position. About its main position. What it will do is, it will transfer the energy, this particle, transfer the energy to the next particle and comes back to its original position. So the job of the first particle is over. Now the second particle again do the same, transfer the energy to the next particle and comes back, and so on will be happening. So that way heat transfers from one place to another place. So here few things are happening in the case of conduction. What is happening in the case of conduction? Let us see. In conduction, first thing is, no particle of medium, that is solid material here, has a permanent displacement. No particle has a permanent displacement. So what happens is, each particle vibrates about its main position, basic position, transfer energy, heat energy, and comes back to its original position. Comes back to its original location. No particle has a permanent displacement. All the change in positions are permanent, not permanent, temporary, vibrates about its main position and goes back to the original position. Thus, the process of this transmission is slowest among all three different of conduction, convection, radiation. Conduction is the slowest process. For this to happen, there must be a kind of a solid material where the molecules are, as I told you, tightly packed with each other. It's the slowest process. And how do we measure this conduction? Depends how much heat transfer happened. All depends on nature of that material. All materials are not going to transfer heat in the same way. There are some materials who are called conductors, transmits the heat. There are some materials who are called bad conductors, doesn't transmit the heat. And that details we will go and discuss in the next video, that how do you measure that, we will discuss it in the next video. That's all about conduction, right? So if you want to talk about convection, Convection is a way of transmission of the heat that happens in fluids. Fluids means that flows. So both liquids as well as gases comes into this category. So fluids, so if you imagine a fluid like this, any particle of a fluid, if there is a heat, it itself carries the heat from one place to another place. To transfer the heat from one place to another place, it itself moves. So the particles of the medium have permanent displacement. So you might have noticed that's not the case of a conduction, but in the case of convection, particles have a permanent displacement. They will never come back to their original position. Then it is much quicker than conduction. Why? In conduction, there is no direct particle going, right? It has to hand over to the next particle. Next particle has to hand over to the next particle and so on. But here, it's directly going from one place to another place. Therefore, there is a direct transmission. Therefore, it happens much quickly. It also depends on the nature. We'll measure them in our coming lessons, right? The last way of transmission of the heat is radiation, thermal radiation. Radiation is the phenomena of transmission of the heat happens without any necessity of medium, without any medium. It doesn't mean if medium is there, it stops going. It don't use the medium at all. It don't care whether the medium is there or not. It will travel without any usage of that medium. Medium is used in convection, whereas medium is not used in radiation. So automatically it travels like in an electromagnetic format. So it is the quickest process. Transmission of the heat happens in radiation in the quickest possible way. There is no need of medium. It can happen in vacuum also. It happens in vacuum. So the sunlight coming all the way from earth, from sun to earth, happens in via the format of radiation. Right. These are the three different ways of transmission of heat, as I told you. Conduction happens to solid, slowest. Convection happens through fluids, little quicker. Radiation happens in vacuum, that's the speedest, quickest process, right. So in conduction, no particle has a permanent displacement. In in convection, particles have a permanent displacement. In radiation, there is no particles itself. That's how we can compare these three modes of transmission of heat. That's it for now. In the further videos, we will see how do we measure these different kinds of transmissions of heat. Thank you for watching.